Hey, it's Derek from Creativity. I saw a question on Facebook today that I don't think I've answered very well in the past, and I had a couple of comments that I wanted to introduce you to really quickly because I think it's pretty important. So the question was, what's the best genre for making money? Because sometimes I tell people, you can write any kind of book, but it's possible and sometimes more rewarding and more enjoyable to be writing books that people enjoy and that people pay you for. Money is not really divorced from reader enjoyment. All you need to do, and I would define better books or good books as books that readers enjoy, putting everything else aside because there's different kinds of styles. You could be a plotter or a pantser. There's different ways to write books, but with reader enjoyment, it's pass-fail. Do readers keep reading? Do they like it? How much they like it? Those are things that you can control if you want to, but genre also makes a difference. So you could choose to write in more popular genres. And first of all, I will say that this is not really it's not the most important thing. It's not even a trick question. Writing in a different genre is not necessarily going to make any difference for you because almost all commercial fiction is based on the same principles. You're going to see the same things being done in all different kinds of commercial fiction. Sure, there's huge changes between spiritual, nonfiction, memoir, and fantasy, but between fantasy and sci-fi, there's different possibly writing styles, there's different plot events, but basic things like suspense and intrigue and description and dialogue, those are skills that are going to be common between different types of commercial fiction. So not just talking about fiction or nonfiction, but genre is really a fiction consideration. So the question, should you stick with your genre and keep going, or should you shift to a different genre? I think it's possible to make money in any genre, but just because it's possible doesn't mean it's likely. So the question in the Facebook group was specifically about epic fantasy, and the question was, how many of you are six-figure authors in epic fantasy? I think the author was trying to figure out if they should stick with epic fantasy, if it's possible or not, or they were struggling in epic fantasy and they were thinking about switching to urban fantasy. And there are reasons for that within a genre. For example, I think, personally, epic fantasy fans tend to be looking for a different kind of reading experience. They are more about the words and the world building, which means it may be harder to finish the type of book that they are going to enjoy. So it means you have to work more time writing and polishing. Not only do they tend to be longer books, or they tend to expect longer books, but they may be difficult or more difficult to write. Whereas urban fantasy are more just fast-paced, more action. I'm not saying it's a different, the writing style is better or worse, but readers of urban fantasy are paying more attention to action and conflict, not necessarily to the big world building stuff, which means it's possible to write urban fantasy books faster and still satisfy readers, which can make a big difference to your bottom end. But like I said, I don't think that's really the biggest difference. And I want to reply to a couple of comments I saw on this comment in Facebook. Basically, a lot of people said, yes, I'm making six figures. It is possible in epic fantasy. And my reply to that was, that's sort of the wrong question, because you don't want to make the mistake of assuming, okay, it's possible, I'll just keep doing it. Whatever I'm doing is not working right now, but it's possible because other people have done it, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And it's kind of like the assumption that it's just luck. It might work, it might not, but it's possible, so I'm just going to keep doing it. My comment to that theme was, although it's possible, although there are six-figured authors, those are not the lucky few who found success despite limitations or drawbacks. Those lucky few are probably doing things different. So what you really have to look at is, why aren't you making any money? Why is 1 out of 1,000 people making money with their fiction in this genre, and the other 1,000 aren't making any money at all? What are they doing differently? Do they have more books? Do they have better covers? Are the books better written? All of those things are probably true. And there's still some things that are probably significantly different between six-figure authors and people who are failing or people who are frustrated or who aren't making any money. So don't assume that it's all just luck, and just because you can, you should just keep going. Figure out why your current books aren't selling right now. Which leads me to the second point, which was somebody said, it's easier to go from a 5-figure author to a 6-figure author. So first, aim for the lower tier, aim for 5 figures. And I actually took it all the way back down to $1, because the truth is almost all authors are losing money, like completely losing money. Almost all authors are spending more in production, not even calculating the opportunity costs of their writing. If they spent 3 months or 6 months writing a book, hundreds of hours that they could have been doing on something else that actually pays or earns money. So if you paid them an hourly wage for that, $10 an hour for 100 hours would be a lot of money. You should factor that in to your business costs, but most authors don't. So even assuming they've invested in editing and book covers, maybe an author website, email list, and advertising, most authors are in the red. They're going to continue being in the red for quite some time. So it's not just about trying to get to 5 figures. That's not possible if you can't profit $1. The goal is to, at any price, make more money than you spend. And that's the actual hurdle that you need to aim for. Once you can make $1, once you can be profitable, you find a way to market, your books are converting. Because the thing is, if you're not making any money, it just means you can't sell the book. Your book is not converting at the price that you need to spend to advertise or promote it. So you probably need new covers, you probably need new blurbs, you probably need more reviews. Those are the 3 things that are almost certainly making it difficult to be successful with your books in any genre. But once you fix all those things, and maybe when you have more content, because it's difficult to profit from just 1 or 2 books, it's easier with completed series, it's much easier with 3 to 5 completed series. That's definitely something I hope to achieve, but I'm not there yet. I have a whole bunch of standalone books which convert okay, but not really enough for me to stay profitable with a bigger ad spend. So my main problem right now is producing more content. It's difficult to produce more content if you're not getting paid for it immediately, but I also know that I'm already sort of breaking even on 1 or 2 books. I know it will be possible to profit once I have more content, but I have the numbers to back me up. I've done the research, I have the experience. So it's not a scary luck of the draw risk or gamble at this point. It's not guaranteed, it's not going to be easy, but I have the experience and the knowledge to have a more accurate estimate of potential sales. A lot of authors don't, because if you're not selling any right now, you can't make any prognostics, any kind of, I can't think of a good word for what I'm trying to say, but you can't look to the future and make assumptions about how many books you're going to sell, because like this other author is making 6 figures. So if I only get like 1/10 of those sales, I'll be making 5 figures, which is fine for me. I've done that kind of thinking in the past. I've done it recently. It's easy and it's motivating to have some kind of a goal that you shoot for, but it's also a little bit wishful thinking until you figure out why your books aren't selling. So to answer the question, I know this was a roundabout way, what genre is the best? There's always going to be a balance of, are you actually going to do the work? So I've had people say, I would just hate to write in that other genre, or I don't enjoy writing in that other genre. And my first answer is, writing is hard no matter what you do it, and it's where you do it, and it's also rewarding no matter what you do it or how you do it, which just means, you may think ideologically it's not what you want to do. You'd rather not be paid than switch genres. But that's going to wear out real thin. You're going to get tired of not being paid. And eventually you have to decide, is this my job? Is this something I'm going to work at even when it's not fun? Am I going to do something I don't like even if it makes more money? That's a balance. It's a conversation you're going to have to wrestle with. But I will also say that if you're just doing it for the money and you really don't like it, even though rationally you should be able to make yourself do it, it's also true that we're all just little kids at heart, and it's really hard to force ourselves to do things that we don't like to do. If you can find a way to enjoy it or to write books that you like in a genre you enjoy, you're going to have to deal less with procrastination. It's more likely you're going to finish more books more quickly, which is going to make a bigger difference on your bottom line eventually, as long as you're writing commercial fiction and you're doing all the right things that you need to, because it's not just because you put out more content doesn't guarantee success. You have to be putting out the right kind of content with your eyes wide open about what readers actually like and enjoy. You have to make that a decision to focus on reader enjoyment and figure out what it's going to take for your books to sell, or to figure out why your books aren't selling and start writing books that will sell, because you can't assume the books you've written are good or that readers will like them. And there's a difference, because I read a lot of books that are good, they're great writing, but they're not satisfying. The story doesn't flow, it doesn't wrap up well. You lose interest, there's not enough conflict, there's not enough things going on. Even a well-written book can be a bad book. And that's an important realization to come to terms with, because you may think you're a great writer, you may think you're a better writer than those people who are making money, but there's a reason readers aren't voting for your book with their wallets. You haven't proven the value of your book enough for them to pay for it. That's your job to prove the value, and once they paid for it, it's your job to make good on the promise and satisfy the expectation that they had going in, because otherwise they're not going to become fans, they're not going to buy other books from you. So I think that was the only two things I wanted to say was, don't assume that just because somebody else is making money that you can make money in the same genre, and also don't get too distracted by the big numbers. Figure out, it's a I forget the word, it's a pass-fail game. Like, you're either profitable or you're not profitable. That's the only bar that matters. Once you pass the bar and you are profitable, then it's all about scaling. So then it's just about improving your conversion, getting more visibility, building up your ad spend. Once you're making any money, you can scale it to more money. The problem most authors face is they don't have a book that converts well enough to make any money at any level. So that's what I teach and talk about a lot on my videos. I have tons of resources to help you to figure this stuff out in terms of, book design, author platform, and writing good books. And it is important, like, you want to be asking these questions. You do have to stay motivated. It makes sense to want to think about, would this be easier if I did it a different way or if I switched genres? But it's also sometimes an indication of trying to put the cart before the horse and just jumping too far in the future. If you have problems right now publishing and you're not making any money, switching genres is probably not going to solve those issues. There are other things you need to solve. Maybe what you've written is never going to be super profitable, but you should at least be able to figure out all of the things that are stopping the conversion, and do your best at it, at least to the point where it's selling. Even if you're losing money, like you lose a couple $100, but you get a bunch of sales, you've proven that you can't currently be profitable with this book or this series. And hopefully you'll be getting enough reviews or lack of reviews. If you get 100 sales and 0 reviews, it could mean people aren't finishing the book, or that they don't like it enough to review it. And those are important pieces of data anyway. So I wouldn't move on from a series too early, because a lot of times authors, they've never even started. They think they've been at it for years. They think they're frustrated and stuck, and they have less than 5 reviews, and they've just never even given the book a chance. And yes, it's hard to get reviews, but you can't think about doing things differently until you've started doing things right. So I hope this video helps a little bit if you're thinking about, what genre is the most profitable genre to write in. I think that's kind of a reasonable question, but these answers may seem counterintuitive, so I hope they help you to kind of think through the issues. Thanks, bye-bye.